Hello, everyone. Welcome to another possibly great episode of Uncanny Media, the show. It's me, your good buddy Spider, here to deliver the thoughts, the reflections, the philosophical treatise, and whatever else. I'm hoping. It's been stormy this evening, just like apparently Tuesday night into Wednesday morning has been perennially the time of the year this year where we're going to have thunderstorms and potential power outages and all kinds of other things. And it seems like most of that's done now, but just in case, hopefully everything goes smooth. How are you folks doing? How's everybody feeling tonight? I'm doing okay. I've had, just like last time, it's been a week. I didn't have any meltdowns like I did before the last episode, but my goodness, I wanted to. Did I ever want to? I'll say that. It's been tough. I've talked about in the past how all of the various arms and gears and cogs and pieces, parts of Uncanny Media as a growing... Well, it's not a company yet. It's supposed to be. It still needs all the paperwork filed and all the other various things that costs a whole bunch of money that I haven't been able to spend on yet. But I'm calling it a business anyway because that is the plan. That is the goal, and I want to keep that in mind. But I've talked about how all these spinning plates are starting to bring in revenue, but not in any appreciable amounts. It's like a few dollars here, a few dollars there. And it's accelerating. I mean, everything is getting there. One of these days, I'm going to get paid. One of these days, I'm going to get paid. But it's taking time to build up all of that. And it just seems like over the last couple weeks, there's been innumerable financial just hits on personal stuff with the family and on the business stuff, and just I've got bills that need paid that haven't been paid yet. I've got things that need to go through, and it's gonna get there. It is all gonna work out eventually, but it's just right now it's tough. I went through a couple of days where I honestly didn't know how we're going to get it done. And I'm still kind of unsure. I have plans. I'm still kind of unsure, but we're going to make it. An update on something from last week is that the bank still has not been able to connect with the Plaid financial money transfer service. So I can no longer do installments on my rent until that gets fixed, if ever. Which is kind of frustrating. It removes a little bit of the flexibility that I had before. I had an idea where I didn't want another bank account, I'll say that. I don't want another bank account, because then you have to reset direct deposit for my wife's paychecks and for everything else that we've got going through. But I was going to join Chime. Chime is like the digital bank. They don't have bank buildings. It's all done on the internet and stuff, and you set up checkings account that way. Because I thought, well, since it's all digital, I can move money back and forth from my bank to that, and then that bank is one of the banks listed for the installment company to connect to. So I thought, well, that's fine. I'll just move the money into that. They'll be able to connect with that with the Plaid and still do that. But in order for that to do the transfers from my bank to begin with, it requires Plaid. It requires the Plaid go-between. And I have not heard back from Plaid. I have sent several messages. I sent a message to the bank. I would just go to the bank, but the bank is in Akron, which is north of here, because when I lived in Akron, that was the bank that I signed on with. And it's always been a good bank, which is why I haven't switched it, even though I moved about a half hour south. And it is such a hassle to go up to the bank just to talk to them about something and then come back. We do everything digitally. Everything's done through the banking app without us having to go up there, since we don't have paper checks to deposit. And I don't want to have to switch banks. I just don't, just to connect with this Plaid thing. So I'm probably just going to have to ditch the installment plan idea and just pay the payments in one lump and just try to figure it out each month. Try to balance everything, right? I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I don't know. We'll figure it out when we figure it out. But I've heard nothing from Plaid. They're obviously not going to help me, and I couldn't get through to the bank, so they're not going to help me. So there's that. I have the money. Mostly. Mostly. As for other things, I don't know if I have the money, but, whatever. I do want to say welcome to all of the new listeners. I've had a huge influx of listeners on the podcast here over the last week. It's been amazing, actually, the last week or two, just how many new clicks and plays have come through, which tells me that a lot of people enjoy listening to me rant and rave and ramble and other words that begin with R about all this stuff. If you hear things in the background, that's one of the cats. He's playing with something. I don't know what he's doing. So welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in. There's a lot of content. This is episode 62. No, technically it's episode 61, because it'll say 62 total episodes if you look at the podcast on various services, but there's only 61 official episodes, and then there's the bonus oatmeal episode about the Oatmeal Festival. You'll have to look that up if you don't know what I'm talking about. But this is episode 61, I believe, and so there's a lot for you to listen to. You can go listen to all that stuff on your own time. So, yes, welcome. Let's get into some things. There's been a lot going on. There has been a lot going on. And one of the things that has gone on, I actually had a mild, I wouldn't say a disagreement, but a difference of outlook. A difference of philosophical outlook with someone else not too long ago. And I'm not going to name names because I don't call anybody out. I don't, and they'll know probably if they listen to the podcast that I'm talking about them, but I'm not trying to talk about them in a negative way. This isn't like a slam fest. This isn't a flame thing. Recently, someone I knew shared a story about how now pretty much former Representative Eric Swalwell, I don't know how to say his name, about how he talked about people need to be accepting of our Muslim neighbors and blah, 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 and I didn't have any issue with that. But I did comment on his post and saying, well, just to be fair, this is the guy that was literally sleeping with a Chinese spy. That's not a joke. That's not something that's not true. They uncovered a Chinese spy. He was sleeping with the person, in a consensual way among adults. You know what I mean? So who knows what kind of information he was giving out without thinking about it. And that got found out, and he claimed he didn't know, blah, blah, and he kept his job, and nobody seemed to look twice at it. It was like a minor scandal that just disappeared. But I remembered. Because he's a big anti-Trump guy. And I don't mean that as an insulting way. I'm not being like, I hate this guy because he's an anti-Trump guy. Because you guys know me. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not like a MAGA person. I'm not on either side of that argument. I'm an independent on this kind of stuff, and I have different opinions about different things. So I'm not defending Mr. Trump from this guy's opinions, but I also know that that's what he was well known for. He was known for Trump, even though he was sleeping with a Chinese spy, which was uncovered. It's true. And so the comeback from this person was, yeah, well, the president is a this and does this with people, and which is just a deflection. And I said that. I said, I'm not that guy. I don't have support for that person. I'm just telling you, if you see a meme where somebody said something, and you're like, oh yeah, I can get behind that, just consider the source. Because I doubt this guy cares. I doubt Mr. Eric Swalwell cares at all about Muslims or anything like that. He's just looking for re-election stuff. Or he was at the time, right? And the response I got was, well, that's irrelevant because he still said something that was a moral point that you shouldn't be abusive to your neighbors. And I saw his point, and I did say that. I know where he was coming from. But how are you going to base a moral stance and disconnect it from a person who's an immoral person? Right? He used Trump in the defense, as in, well, Trump said da-da-da-da. Let's say Trump was like a saint. Let's say he gave so much money to charity and he saved so many children across the world, right? But he was also a douche and he abused people and did horrible things, right? Are you going to just excuse the fact that he did horrible things because he also did nice things? No, because if you're a horrible person, it doesn't matter how many nice things you do. Thank you for doing nice things, but you're still a horrible person. Right? That's what I think. So lo and behold, now, just a few days ago, it was revealed that Mr. Eric Swalwell was sexually assaulting a person on his staff multiple times. And pressuring that person to do things with him for their job and various things. And it got to the point where it was serious enough that Congress asked him to step down, and he agreed. He said, okay, I will. He denies that anything happened, of course, because they always do. But he was resigning. And so, I feel a little vindicated. Because, again, it doesn't matter whether you say you have a moral stance on something. You can say, we need to help the homeless all day, every day, as much as you want. But if you're abusing people, and if you're causing people harm, it doesn't matter what your moral stance is. It doesn't matter what you say morally. You're not saying it because you're a good person. You're just saying it for points, for clout, for whatever. So I'm not going to miss Mr. Swalwell. Now, to keep things balanced, he's not the only person resigning. There was a Republican. This guy was a Democrat, and there's also a Republican, Gonzalez, I think was his last name. I haven't looked too deeply into it yet. But he's resigning also because of some scandal. And here's one of the points I want to make. Do not look to your politicians for a moral compass. Because that's not what they're there for. Ostensibly, which is a good word, by the way, look it up, they are there to represent your interests. They're not there to represent their own interests. So that already takes their own outlook and feelings out of the equation. It should, anyway, even though many of them are vocal and they argue and they shout and they do whatever. But they're supposed to be there representing the citizens' interests, not their own. And that frequently gets put on the back burner. And they indulge in their various vices and whatever they want to do. And they spend our money and they say, oh yes, this and that, and speeches, we should do this issue, and we should support this, and I'm against that, and we should oust this person, and blah, 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 and they're all... I'm pretty disillusioned with Congress as it is. And people will tell me, I've had people tell me, well, you know what, that's our own fault. We have to elect better people. But so far, no better people have shown up to run for election. That's the issue I have had. That's the issue I've had with the last several elections, is that there's nobody worth voting for. Every single person is morally problematic. Biden had issues. You can say whatever you want, but he had problems, and he was also like losing his mind. He 100% was. Don't even lie about it. He was losing his mind. And I'm not going to get into an argument about, well, no, Trump's losing his mind. That's not the point. That's not the point. Biden was losing his mind. Trump has morality problems, like most politicians. AOC, she's a dingbat. She doesn't. She's in it to be seen, to have a following on X, to be able to be a mouthpiece for whatever she wants. She's not there to help people. Bernie Sanders, how many houses does he have? But he wants to do democratic socialism. You know, Cheney, ugh, imagine if Cheney had gotten in. We'd be bombing everybody. We'd be bombing people we don't even like. We'd be bombing people we like. They looked at us funny. Oh, now you're bombed today. Probably not that extreme, but you know what I mean. So, do not put your faith in politicians for morality concerns. Okay? It's not going to end well. It never does. They will always let you down. They've always let me down. And so I haven't voted for any of them in quite a while. I have not voted for many of these people. I've refused to. I wouldn't say I'm a conscientious objector, so to speak, but I am a person who's not going to pick the lesser of two evils if they're both evil. Okay? I'm just not going to do it. If the option was, just like the last time, the option was between Trump and Kamala. They were both horrible. Don't get at me and tell me, oh, you're only saying that because Kamala's a woman and she's dark. No, I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that it's because she was horrible. She couldn't speak. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't do anything as vice president under Biden. She did nothing. Literally nothing. I mean, and please don't come at me with, oh, well, J.D. Vance, what does he do? I don't know. Probably nothing. He's off doing meetings with people across the world for different foreign policy stuff, and I don't know if it's helping. I think it's hurting more than anything else. But the fact is, she wasn't going to work. She couldn't do anything. But people will tell me, well, you should have voted for her because then we wouldn't have Trump. Well, but then we would have Kamala. Or Kamala, or however you say it. And people will say, oh, that's still better than Trump. You don't know that. Things can be bad in different ways. Things are bad right now, the way things are. But think about it from the other way. She wasn't going to get anything done because the Congress was not going to be united on anything, so nothing was going to get pushed through. I'm not going to go into super deep political analysis about it because I know the way that the wind would blow with all this. I'm just saying, don't look to politics for moral support. It's not worth it. There's there's other things going on too. There's a cultural thing that goes on right now that I've noticed. And this might be yet another old man yells at cloud situation. I tend to have those a lot because I am getting to be an old man. And I don't always understand modern things. I've seen a lot of different trends rise and fall, and even some of the ones from the past I didn't quite understand. So it's not like that's all that different. One of the big things that I've seen rise over the last 10 years is meme culture. And you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then I'm going to educate you on it real quick, and then you'll probably understand. The picture with the quotes and whatever, the jokes, all that kind of stuff, the memes. I've used them. I laugh at some of them. I'm a repeat abuser of certain of them. I've made some. But there's an entire culture that has grown up expressing themselves online, basically through memes. They'll see somebody else has posted one that's an inspiration, and they'll repost and they'll say, relatable. This is me. And it's some hollow, vapid, people don't know the real you. If they had to walk a mile in your shoes, they would break their shins. And you look at that and you've had a hard life and you say, that's me. That's totally me. I relate to that. And I'm going to share it. And it's like it's like Twitter, when Twitter was first, with the short rapid fire tweets rather than the longer paragraphs that you can get now. It was just spit out an opinion, throw it out in the world, and then move on. Doesn't matter who looks at it, doesn't matter how many people actually retweet it, just throw it out there. Throw as many tweets as you can in a day. That's validation. I've said everything I want to, and the universe has to see it. And now I have 3,000 followers, and now I have 3 million followers because they love the things that I have to say in my little bite-sized parts of my brain. And meme culture is a lot like that. And there's certain of them that are used maliciously among groups who kind of band together and they're like, oh, look at this. There's a word that came out of, I don't know if it just came up naturally or if it came out of certain places inorganically. I first noticed it when people used to use it with that Rick and Morty show. They used to use a word called normie, which is a normal person who's not special, who's not different, who's not awake, who's not, tuned in, or who doesn't have any special abilities or whatnot. It's just a normie. It's just a person. Your average citizen. And my wife is watching, she just started watching on Netflix. She started watching Wednesday, which is the show about, it's the Addams Family offshoot, where it talks about Wednesday Addams, who's grown into a high school student. She goes to like a special school with vampires and werewolves and monsters and people of different dispositions. And they're part of this town called Jericho. If you haven't watched the show, then you won't. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. This isn't me reviewing the show or anything. It's just, I'm getting to my point here. If you have seen it, you know where I'm going with this. And the people in the town are known as normies to the people from the school. And the people in the town frequently look at the people at the school and say, oh, they're a bunch of freaks because they're monsters and weirdos and things like that. Because that's one of the ways you make conflict in a story. But normies is like a regular word. Like even just adults among themselves, like, oh yeah, we saw that you folks came up here and it's great that you accepted a bunch of normies to come to your weirdo party. And it's like, oh, you're welcome. We love the normies. Normies. And so there's memes about that deriding the normies. But it's even worse than that now. There's a worse expression, which I find to be, it makes me want to grate my teeth together. NPCs. NPCs. This is from gaming culture that has bled into common parlance. An NPC is a non-playable character. In a video game or in a tabletop role-playing game, anybody who is not one of the people playing the game, who is inside the game, is an NPC. They're a non-playable character. They're just the random citizens you walk by or you might get a mission from or whatever. But they're, in the long term, essentially unimportant for the story because you're the star. You're the player. You're the person making the decisions. And so that's the outlook about this. People who think that they're smart. People who think that they're tuned in, that they're plugged into the hive mind, that they think they know what's going on in the dirty underworld and they've got all the secrets figured out. The Q people like to do this. The people who are into Q, they like to call people NPCs. And I hate the term. I hate it. Because there's a lot of people in the world that just want to live their lives. They don't want to be connected to scandals. They don't want to know about this kind of stuff. They're just trying to get by. They're trying to work. They're trying to survive. They're trying to raise a family. There's nothing wrong with any of that. There is nothing wrong with enjoying pop music on the top 40 radio. I don't, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with doing the whole get married in your 20s, have kids by the time you're 30 and have like a 3-child family and husband works and the wife stays at home and blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not telling you that you should do that. I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with it. Just like there's nothing wrong with the opposite. Both parents work or one parent works or there's no extra parent. There's just a single person raising the kids or there's no kids at all. If you have the opinion that you don't want any kids, there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with any of this, and not looking at the news and feeling like, oh, there's an octopus-tentacled, dark, evil force of Illuminati that's arranging the strings of everyone. It's fine not to believe in that. It is fine. It's not a big deal. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. It's okay if you don't want to listen to that. It doesn't make you less of a person. But these people want to put themselves on pedestals. They want to make themselves feel special. So they have to make sure nobody else is special. Because they're all NPCs. They don't count. They aren't having the adventures. They aren't getting the high scores. They aren't getting ahead in life. And another part of that, which also is starting, there's a rabbit hole I've gone down recently. It's connected to, I don't know if you remember, a few episodes ago I talked about how Instagram has become a haven for anti-Jewish racist people. Okay? These same people tend to be on Facebook and Twitter and whatever, and they all have that cartoon frog, a variation of that cartoon frog as their profile picture. And when they post, they say, hello friends. Not friends with a D at the end, but friends, F-R-E-N-S. Friends. As if it's a special code that the only people who would say that are, oh, it's us, so we're talking to each other. Ha 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 ha, we're so clever. And a few years ago, I saw a story. And I made fun of it at the time because it seemed patently ridiculous. Because the frog thing was from a meme. Again, it's from meme culture. It was called Pepe the Frog. And he said, I don't even remember where the original meme was from. It was just some sad-looking frog. And it was some dull commentary. And apparently there was someone who claimed to be the creator of that character, Pepe the Frog. And somebody wrote an actual news article about this. One of the more left-leaning papers like The Guardian or somebody, I don't remember who it was. Not I'm only saying that because they're the only people who talk about it. The other side doesn't talk about it, and there's a reason for that. Let me get to it. They had talked to him about it because he'd come out into the open and he'd said, I am killing off the character because it's being used for right-wing Nazi activities, symbols and whatnot. Now, at the time, I was like, are you serious? It's a cartoon frog. And how are you going to kill off a character that's now... People spreading the memes aren't going to care. They're going to keep... You can't stop them from spreading it. It's an asinine thing to say. And how is this a symbol of right-wing extremism? It doesn't... It's so stupid. This is me at the time. Fast forward to now, and all of these Q believers, all of these anti-Jewish racist people with the friends, they all use this in their meme sharing, in their profile pictures, different variations. Some of them have been made up to look a bit like them with their hair color, and the various other ones, they're in suits, they're in whatever. And it's like some secret code. Oh, ho, ho, we've got the frogs, we've got the friends, FRENS. We're smart. We're not NPCs. We're not normies. We know that Pizzagate was real. We know that everything Trump says is spoken in code. And he's telling us that there's house arrests, and there's this, and there's that. And so... And they're just blatantly racist. And they're blatantly hateful. And they're blatantly awful. All of the time. And they all have this connective tissue, this frog in the friends. Right? And again, it's from meme culture. And the other side, the quote-unquote NPCs and normies, are heavy into hashtags. Hashtags are the popular thing. Hashtags are ubiquitous now. I will admit to some ignorance. I don't understand the technology on the internet that registers hashtags as, oh, if enough people say this thing and it has a hashtag next to it, it becomes part of the search algorithm. It becomes something that the search engines are going to pick up on. It's going to go viral. I don't understand the technology in that. I'm sure it's some kind of coding. I'm sure it's some part of the web that I have not studied enough. Maybe in computing, every time you see a hashtag, it's a sign to take notice. Look at this. Pay attention. And the more times a phrase shows up with a hashtag, then the more important it is. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws with that. And I've used hashtags just like I've used memes because I'm trying to kind of I'm trying to figure out why the algorithm needs that. I'm trying to expand my reach on some of these things, and I'm trying to get it to move. But I've noticed that some people will just use them just like memes for just personal gratification. They're just little affirmations to themselves. They're just little, oh, here's hashtag love, and then they feel good about themselves. Hashtag feeling myself, and it's just a rabid, bite-sized little mood lifter, little antidepressant in text form. And so I've experimented with this. I've seen hashtags that other people have used, and I've made the attempt to subvert these things. I've seen people post these things to try to get attention. I thought, oh, well, you know what? What if I attach myself to that? What if I attach it to my things and see how far I can get? So I'll co-opt different phrases for different things that I'm doing to see if it has any... to see if anything happens with it. one of the big things that I've noticed, and another thing about these is that despite the fact that when you use these and they're used at a certain level, and the computers are supposed to take notice and the internet's supposed to take notice, if you overuse them, it has the opposite effect. It saturates, and the web and the algorithm completely ignores it. It's like, no, not important. So if too many millions of people are spreading the same exact hashtag, then nothing happens. No higher visibility, no notice, no nothing. And there's one that goes around now. It's FYP, which is short for your page. And it's spread mostly by bots. Mostly bot accounts where they'll just post random nonsense. Or they'll post risque videos to try to draw in men to click on links that they shouldn't, and then they'll lose their credit cards and things. Because that's a popular scam. But it's FYP, and I've seen plenty of people use that one innocently, thinking, oh yeah, this is the popular hashtag right now, and it doesn't really help them. It's like people use these things, they use the memes and they use the hashtags as like a form of therapy. They're like little affirmations, little bite-sized fortune cookies to tell you, oh, everything's going to be okay. I made a hashtag, I made a meme, it lifted my spirits, I'm okay. I got 30 likes on my meme. These people relate to me. They know how I feel. That's great. And they'll click my hashtag and they'll follow all of my channels. And it doesn't work like that. With the hashtags, I think it's supposed to work like that, but it doesn't anymore. I feel like the hashtag system is broken. Like, it was something that worked at first, and I think now it's broken. Just like most of the ways that things go viral on the internet, things get damaged, things get broken, as Depeche Mode was wont to say. So, and if you do that, I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm not gonna tell you not to do that or that you're wasting your time. Whatever validation you want to do is fine if it really helps you, but try to work on some other aspect of your life. Try to work on something that's a bit more permanent. You know, because there's only so far you can get with the memes and the hashtags. There's only so much dopamine you can get pumping from the old brainstem sharing this stuff. You know? And it's never worked for me. I steadily lose followers on Facebook all the time. Despite, it doesn't matter how positive my posts are, it doesn't matter how negative my posts are. I just continually hemorrhage followers on Facebook, because Facebook apparently, I don't know if maybe they've blacklisted me for something, or if I don't know what it is. I've paid for advertising on Facebook, and it's failed to increase my Facebook presence at all, but it's helped me get noticed in other areas, which is crazy. Like, it's just like, it's completely failed at what its base purpose was, but it has exceeded expectations in areas it was not intended. Which is crazy. You know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know. Again, this is probably mostly, you know, old man yells at cloud kind of stuff. And people are going to listen in and be like, this dude is just out of touch. He just doesn't know the technology anymore. He has no idea what he's talking about. And that's probably a fair opinion. You know, I don't pay as much attention to popular things. I'm not really a big pop culture person. I notice some things, but I'm not Ryan Seacrest, any of that kind of stuff. He's still around. He does ads for online casino apps now. for casino apps. That's what he's doing now for money. So I that's where that got him, I guess. That's where that got him, I suppose. So where do we go from here? What else do we have? What else do we have to talk about? I'm trying to think if anything big has happened. Well, there are some big things happening. WrestleMania is this weekend. I'm not particularly looking forward to it because I think there's a lot of fluff on it. There's a lot of things that aren't necessary. And even if you're not a big wrestling fan, let's talk about economics for a minute. Usually, WrestleMania is the big event of the year for wrestling people who follow that brand. They're all, oh yeah, and then people will spend huge amounts of money to go and to fill up the stadiums and to spend on tourism and the hotels and whatnot. This year, it seems like they're having trouble selling tickets. And I say that not without being able to see any of the numbers, but because this year I've gotten emails. Because I get emails on wrestling stuff. I hardly ever pay attention to it because I can't really make it to the live events too often. They're super expensive. And that's part of what's the issue. Things are very expensive. The cost of being a wrestling fan has gone up by vast amounts. And I've gotten emails that they've been offering discounts on tickets. Like, this was the first year I've ever gotten an email that said that WrestleMania tickets were 25% off at one point. I don't know if they stayed that way or if that was just a brief little blip where, oh yeah, we're offering a discount this weekend only. But that's a big deal. I mean, these are tickets that are several $100s a ticket. If you want to take your whole family, it's a couple thousand, it's a couple grand. Even for crap seats. For the front row seats, it's even more ridiculous. You have to buy a package. You have to buy the VIP experience package. You can't just buy the tickets. You have to buy the whole thing to get those. Because they bundle them all together to make more money. And people pay that. But they offered 25% off. And they're doing other different gimmicks to try to make money. They're offering for your signature to be put on the ring mat so you can be forever immortalized as having your signature, your name on a WrestleMania ring mat. Of course, they're charging you for it, but they've never done that before that I know of. So, and it's in Las Vegas for the second year in a row. They usually don't do back-to-backs in the same city 2 years in a row, but they did this time. And Las Vegas is already an expensive, for an out-of-towner, is an expensive city. Now, Nevada, I have it on good authority, especially around Las Vegas. It has the lowest cost of living in much of the United States because a lot of their state funds are managed by the casinos. And they want you to have money to spend at the casinos, so they don't charge you as much for rent. They don't charge you as much for food, unless you're in the city itself, like you're buying things at the casinos, and or the fast food. If you're buying from grocery stores outside of the limits, then, everything's, I've been told, is a bit cheaper. But again, that's because the casinos. And if you actually go to Las Vegas and you spend time in the city itself, they're expecting you to spend a ton of money one way or the other. So the out-of-towners are spending a vast amount of money already to go there. And then WrestleMania on top of that. And they're offering discounts on tickets. It does not say good things about their bottom line. And it could just be because they're just desperate to squeeze every last buck that they can, which they are. The company that owns WWE now is... They're obviously in it for the money. They're not particularly in it for the product or for the entertainment or for anything else. They're in it for the money, and they will spend huge amounts of money to get huge amounts of money. But I think that it's just like anything else. It's. I used to work for Sears back in the day, and that's why my back got hurt. There's a lot of. I had a lot of good times with the company, but then I had a lot of bad times towards the end. And you don't see Sears as a company hardly anywhere anymore. Like, almost every single store is closed, except for maybe the one in Hawaii and a couple of little franchises. Because the guy that purchased the Kmart company, which then bought the Sears company, he was a person who made their money off of selling real estate. And what he would do is he would buy up things, pump up the value, and then drive them into the ground. He would pump up the value of the real estate itself and then drive the companies into the ground so that they would all have to close so that he could liquidate the assets and then sell off the real estate. It was very much slash and burn, and it didn't take very long. It took a few years, and then that was it. The entirety of my time with the company went from, oh, things are doing okay, to things are doing absolutely garbage in a relatively short amount of time. And all I got out of it was a workman's comp suit and bad back that will never recover. So I've seen this kind of thing before, and it feels almost like that's what the company that owns WWE is doing. That they're trying to pump up the value as much as they can, squeeze everything out, and then they're going to sell it all off for pennies to make whatever money they can get. And it's disheartening because so many things are getting like that. We're looking at the Paramount Warner Discovery merger, which may not even happen because there's a lot of people protesting it. It's funny how that ended up. I talked about that a little bit on one of the previous shows. People were upset that Netflix was going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. They're like, oh yeah, it's going to be the death of the modern movie theater as we know it, and blah blah. And then Paramount upped the offer, basically bullied Netflix out of the equation. Netflix cut its losses and said, okay, we don't want to spend the money anyway. And now Hollywood celebrities are all on board with, you know what, the Paramount merger is not great. This is bad. This is a horrible decision. It's a big conglomerate that doesn't care about anybody or any of us. We're protesting that, and it has to go through the federal regulations, blah blah. And so you can't have it both ways. It was going to go to either one of these two people, and honestly, I think Netflix would have done better with it. Yeah, it might have put less things in theaters, but theaters, I hate to say it, theaters are not a place to go anymore. The experience is getting worse. The sound isn't dialed in correctly in most of these theaters. The environment isn't great no matter how many nice plush seats they put in there. Everything is too expensive. All the food is too expensive. The tickets are too expensive. Theaters have put themselves out of business. It's not the streaming. They've tried to compete by doing the wrong thing. Instead of lowering their prices and then trying to entice people to come in, they've raised the prices because they figure that's the only thing they can do to get their money back. And it's not going to work. I know you have expenses. I know you got to pay things. But if you lower the prices by a certain amount, you'll have more people coming in, which will multiply that to higher levels. Whereas if you have higher prices, less people are going to want to spend those higher prices, and you're going to get a net loss in spending. You'll get a net positive in spending if you lower the prices a little bit, and entice more people and spread it out a bit more. That's just basic economics. Especially when there is an alternative where people can go home and essentially watch 12 movies a week for free. Which is not, 100% for free. It's for like $20 a month now with Netflix. But still, you can make your own food. That $20 is less than the cost of 2 tickets to see a movie in a theater. You don't got to have other people. You can just have your family. You can pump up your surround sound if you got one. Watch it on however size TV you want, etc., etc. So, theaters were dying anyway. They reacted to streaming poorly. They did not react correctly. And so they lost the fight before it even began. And now people are upset about streaming and this and that, and there's nothing you can do about it. You would have been better off going with Netflix because streaming is their model. Everybody else, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, all these other people are late to the game. They're all late to the game. Netflix figured out the formula, and they ran with it, and they're the big dog. And I don't want to say they should own everything because I don't like monopolies, but this is the way it is. The merger would have been better with Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery. Now you have Paramount muscled their way in, got the deal, and people are freaking out. There's panic. There's all kinds of things going on. There's also a lot of fear-mongering about AI, both in movies, which is valid because AI is already starting to ruin some of the video culture that we're interested in, but also in music and gaming. And there's been a lot of panic about AI music on LinkedIn. There's people writing scare tactic articles like mad on LinkedIn about it, trying to get clout and trying to be like, yes, I'm telling you this is what's going to happen. I'm a reputable person that you've never heard of in your entire life, but you must take me seriously. The bottom is falling out of the AI market already. There's going to be new anti-AI algorithms programmed by AI to recognize itself to stop the spread of AI materials, because the Supreme Court said that AI art, music and video and etc. cannot be copyrighted, which means you can't make any money off of it. You can try. You can get people to donate. You can try to do the monetization on everything, but you can't stop other people from using it. And they're going to be taking money out of your pocket for it. And eventually nobody's going to make any money. So, because you're going to be ripping each other off. So that whole market is starting to bottom out. The bottom is falling out already as we speak. The big AI scare is falling apart as we speak, as we're watching it. It was such a quick, like, oh yeah, AI is here and everything. The chatbots and this that I talked about on the last show. All of this, and then it's already sloping down into dismal defeat. The chatbots will probably stay, because big corporations can just plug those in and then ignore everything. And they don't have to fix anything. And they don't know if anything's going wrong because they don't have to pay attention to what the chatbots are saying. Because the chatbots will prevent you from complaining. They'll put up an effective, like, if you can't talk to a person, you can only talk to a chatbot. And chatbot is not programmed to allow you to get your point across. You can never get your point across. And so the company never knows that you have a complaint, so they have no complaints, so everything's peachy, bonuses for everyone, raises for the top earners, everybody vacations in the Bahamas. So customer service is going to be a blighted hellscape from AI in the future. And there's no way around that. That's unfortunately not going to improve. But everything else, the arts, I'm sure will survive. The bottom is going to fall out. It is now on that. And we'll all get by. The only thing left will be the chatbots. And they will rule. with their denial that there's an issue. Have you plugged it back in? Have you unplugged it and plugged it back in? Please try that. Yes, I've tried that. Have you unplugged it and plugged it back in? Please try that. I've tried that. Let me talk to a person. Have you? There's no physical agents available. We deal with the chatbot and. You know what I mean? So let's all just have some hashtag therapy, share some memes. Let's not call each other friends. Friends. Let's not do that. That's a red flag in my book now. If I see anybody making a post on that, then maybe they've sent me a friend request. I've seen, good morning, friends. That's a red flag. I'm probably going to cut you loose. If you have that frog in your profile picture, I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you loose. Cutting you off is the combination of cutting you off and cutting you loose at the same time. I'm not doing it. It's a red flag. It is a red flag, as they say, and I do not embrace such things. But that's it. That's all I've got. I'm going to get out of here. I still have some food I need to eat. It's late. And the cats are being notoriously bad, as usual. And that's fantastic. So thank you for listening. Thank you to all the new listeners and followers. I definitely appreciate it. Tune in every week. Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a new episode of Uncanny Media, the show. You never know what I'm going to talk about. I went from dirty politicians to meme culture on this episode. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it? But that's all. That's all we've got. I'm going to get out of here. Have a good night.